Behind every legendary masterpiece, there is a messy, chaotic, and often secret life. Welcome to Stories. Today we're diving into the life of a genius whose music can turn you from totally fine into an absolute emotional wreck in 0 seconds flat. Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. Yeah, the legend behind Swan Lake and the Nutcracker. But behind those untouchable, gorgeous melodies, there is a wild, messy, scandal-filled life that high society tried desperately to sweep under the rug. We're talking about a man cracking under societal pressure, the heavy burden of his hidden sexuality, a mysterious wealthy patroness who refused to even look at him, and a sudden, highly suspicious death right in the heart of St. Petersburg. If you're ready, let's dive straight into the drama. The year is 1840 in Votkinsk, Russia. Tchaikovsky didn't just wake up one day and decide to be a composer. His family wanted a safe, respectable, boring career for him, so they packed him off to law school in St. Petersburg. For a while, young Pyotr was literally sitting in an office pushing papers for the Ministry of Justice, completely miserable and suffocating in the monotony of it all. Finally, at age 21, he basically said, "I'm done," dropped the safe path, and enrolled in the newly opened St. Petersburg Conservatory. He was pulling all-nighters writing sheet music, surviving on sheer caffeine and willpower, until his talent became so undeniable that he landed a teaching gig at the Moscow Conservatory. Since we're digging into the gossip, let's look at where he came from. His dad, Ilya, was a wealthy, high-ranking mining engineer and a strict disciplinarian. His mother, Alexandra, was French-German, played the piano, and fit right into the upper-crust elite. But tragedy struck hard when Pyotr, just 14 years old, a cholera epidemic swept through and took his mother's life. Watching her die right in front of him dealt a devastating blow to his hypersensitive soul. That childhood trauma planted the seeds for the intense, heartbreaking agony you hear in his music today. To really understand Tchaikovsky's music, you have to look at the heaviest cross he had to bear: his sexuality. In Tsarist Russia, homosexuality was strictly illegal. Being exposed meant losing your social status, your career, and facing the very real threat of imprisonment or exile to Siberia. Because of this brutal reality, Tchaikovsky had to live a double life, navigating his private world entirely underground, wrapped in constant paranoia and fear. The Diary Confessions. In his private journals and letters to his brother Modest, he poured out his deepest heartbreaks and the crushing guilt forced upon him by society. The chronic depression and feeling of being an outsider fueled the dark, tormented emotional landscape of his soul. The sound of pain. Masterpieces like his Pathetique Symphony aren't just pretty notes. They are a direct musical scream of the agonizing friction between who he truly was and the mask he was forced to wear every single day. Desperate to shut down the whispers, protect his family name, and prove to high society that he was normal, Tchaikovsky made a catastrophic mistake. In 1877, a former student named Antonina Milukova wrote him a letter declaring her undying love. Looking for a shield against the gossip, he actually married her. It was an unadulterated nightmare. The second they moved in together, Tchaikovsky went into a full psychological tailspin. He couldn't stand being near her. Things got so dark that he walked straight into the freezing waters of the Moscow River, hoping to catch pneumonia, or worse, just to end it. Miraculously, he survived, fled to St. Petersburg, and never lived under the same roof with her again. Naturally, Antonina didn't stay quiet either. She spent years trashing his name everywhere she went. Right in the middle of this financial and emotional breakdown, a literal guardian angel appeared, Nadezhda von Meck, a filthy rich railway widow. She was obsessed with his music and granted him a massive annual allowance, basically saying, "Here, just focus on writing masterpieces. I've got your bills." But there was one massive, bizarre catch to the arrangement. They were never ever allowed to meet face to face. Can you imagine? For 13 years, they exchanged hundreds of deeply intimate letters, sharing their darkest secrets and debating music. Yet if they happened to cross paths in a park or a concert hall, they had to walk past each other like total strangers. Eventually, the financial rug was pulled out from under her due to family money troubles, and she cut him off completely without a word. That betrayal crushed him. Despite all the chaos, Tchaikovsky's career was unstoppable. He wasn't just a Russian icon anymore. He was a global superstar, even sailing across the Atlantic to conduct at the grand opening of Carnegie Hall in New York. The Tsar himself handed him pensions and medals, while ballets like Swan Lake were blowing people's minds. But did the gossip stop? Absolutely not. Tchaikovsky's ultimate soft spot was his sister Sasha's son, his nephew Vladimir Bob Davidov. His diary entries about Bob crossed the line from normal unclely affection into total obsession. He even dedicated his ultimate masterpiece, the Pathétique Symphony, to him. Naturally, high society had a field day talking about that relationship, and now we arrive at the dark, deeply suspicious finale. It's November 1893 in St. Petersburg. Tchaikovsky is at the absolute peak of his fame, grabs a glass of water at a local cafe, and suddenly drops sick. Within days, he's gone. The official medical report? Cholera. Supposedly caught from unboiled water. Cue the conspiracy theories. According to rumors that have persisted for over a century, Tchaikovsky had gotten mixed up in a major scandal involving a young aristocrat. Terrified of a massive public disgrace, a secret court of honor, made up of his old law school buddies, allegedly confronted him and basically ordered him to take his own life to save the family and school name. Supposedly, he drank poisoned water or arsenic voluntarily, masking the whole thing as a cholera outbreak. Official history says cholera, but history buffs and gossip sleuths have never ever bought it. And there you have it, folks. Behind those legendary, tear-jerking melodies lies a life full of panic, heartbreak, and wild scandals. If you enjoyed diving into the real, unfiltered story of Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, make sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next musical train wreck. Catch you in the next one. Bye.